This is a story about the cost of being underestimated. It's about the kind of genius that grows in the shade, hidden from the blinding spotlights of privilege. And it's about the thunderous, earth-shaking moment when the world finally realizes it bet against the wrong person that I'm talking about. Maya. Maya didn't come from the pristine hills where the county science fair was held. She came from the east side, the side the judges only drove through if they were lost. She lived on a street where the tap water sometimes came out smelling of metal and rust. Her lab wasn't a sleek, sterile basement. IT was a rickety workbench in her garage, lit by a single, buzzing fluorescent tube. She was 16, and her mind moved at the speed of a supercomputer. But her school transcript just read quiet. Her project wasn't a baking soda volcano or a basic circuit board. It was called the bioceramic filter matrix for heavy metal remediation. In simple terms, Maya had figured out how to use cheap, readily available materials, clay, rice husks, and a specific enzyme she'd cultivated herself to filter industrial pollutants and heavy metals out of drinking water. It was a solution that could change impoverished communities. Globally, it cost almost nothing to build. It was revolutionary, but to the judges at the State Science and Engineering Symposium, it just looked different. It didn't look like money. It didn't look like connections. It looked like work, hard work. And in their eyes, that meant it had to be a lie. The powerful figure in this story was Mr. Harrison. Dr. Lawrence Harrison, as he demanded to be called. He was the head judge, the self-proclaimed king of the high school science fair circuit. Harrison had a tweed jacket, a condescending sigh, and a deep-seated belief that true genius only manifested in students whose parents could afford private tutoring and expensive equipment. When he approached Maya's humble table, the air went cold. She stood straight, her hands clasped, ready to deliver her pitch. Maya began to explain the molecular bonding of the ceramics, the efficacy rates, the projected cost savings for a local municipality. Harrison didn't even look at her poster board. He just stared down his nose at her, his mouth curled into a slow, practiced smirk. "Miss Johnson," he interrupted, his voice booming across the otherwise quiet hall. "Let's be intellectually honest, shall we?" The room went silent. Every student, every parent, every rival glanced over. He picked up one of her clay and husk filter prototypes. He turned it over dismissively, like a dirty stone. "This is pottery, Miss Johnson, not purification science." Maya felt a hot, familiar wave of shame and anger rise in her throat, but she held it back. "Sir, the structure of the kiln-fired clay creates a unique microporosity," she explained calmly. "The enzyme bonding is key to neutralizing the lead molecules, which is a common issue on the east side." Harrison slammed the prototype back down on the table. Clack, the sound echoed. It was dramatic, deliberate, and humiliating. "Stop reciting Wikipedia, young lady," he spat. "It is mathematically improbable that a student from your demographic, without access to a legitimate lab, could have engineered a filter matrix of this complexity." He didn't just question her work. He questioned her being, that he questioned the integrity of her black hands and her black brain. He was loud enough for the parents of the rival students, the ones with the $10,000 robotics kits, to hear every syllable. A few snickered. A few outright laughed. Harrison leaned in close, his breath smelling faintly of coffee and entitlement. "Be honest, Maya. Which professor gave you this project?" "You're simply regurgitating their thesis." "I am the sole creator of this project, sir," Maya insisted, her voice trembling but firm. "I developed the enzyme culture in my mother's kitchen sink." He laughed, a sharp, dismissive sound that was pure, dramatic irony. "Then I suggest you focus on culinary arts, Miss Johnson. This is not your field." He scribbled a swift, contemptuous score on his clipboard, a 1 out of 100. "Pack it up," he commanded. "We have actual science to judge." Maya stood there, tears blurring her vision, but not a single one fell. She simply started to pack her life's work into a worn cardboard box. The humiliation was complete. She felt the weight of every low expectation settling on her shoulders. It seemed the story was over. Another talented kid crushed by the system. Harrison was moving down the aisle, congratulating a wealthy student on his impressive, though rather derivative, solar panel design. Then, the doors at the far end of the auditorium burst open, Not softly, not politely. They swung wide. A woman walked in, flanked by two serious, dark-suited men. She wasn't wearing tweed or a polo shirt. She wore a crisp, midnight blue NASA jacket and carried a secure briefcase. Her face was known. It was Dr. Lena Vance, Director of Advanced Materials Research at the Jet Propulsion Laboratory, JPL. Harrison froze mid-sentence, his smile melting. He recognized her. Everyone did. Dr. Vance didn't acknowledge the head judge. She didn't look at robotics or the solar panels. She walked purposefully, her eyes scanning the tables, until she stopped. She stopped right at Maya's nearly empty table, where the discarded prototype and the low score of 1 were still visible. She saw Maya, box in hand, eyes lowered. Maya Johnson. Dr. Vance's voice was warm, not booming like Harrison's, but it commanded silence. Maya looked up, stunned. Yes, ma'am. Dr. Vance placed her briefcase on the table, right next to the damning clipboard. I need you to unpack that immediately, dear, she said, pulling out a sheaf of papers. We have been reviewing the pre-submission data sent to our team. The data Mr. Rodriguez at the community center helped you upload last month, remember? Maya nodded weakly. Well, Dr. Vance continued, louder now, addressing the shocked crowd, and specifically, the pale Mr. Harrison. The material science team at JPL has been trying to recreate your filter matrix for 2 weeks now. The silence in the hall was suffocating. Harrison stammered, stepping forward. Excuse me, Dr. Vance. I believe there has been a mistake. This project was disqualified. It's simplistic and lacks verifiable data. Dr. Vance didn't even look at him. She spoke to Maya, but her words were for the entire room. Your theoretical model, Maya, is so stable and so effective at filtering lead and mercury that we are currently assessing its application for long-duration manned missions. She tapped a complex chemical diagram in the paper she held. This, Mr. Harrison, is not pottery. It's a bioreactive filtration substrate, and it solves a major engineering problem we've faced regarding water recycling on Mars. She turned, finally, her gaze locking onto Harrison. You gave this genius a score of 1. Harrison looked like he was about to faint into his tweed. I determined it was likely plagiarized, doctor. The complexity suggested professional aid was involved. He tried to regain his footing, to appeal to institutional prejudice. Doctor Vance gave him a cold, hard look that wiped the king of the hallway right off his throne. The complexity suggests a singular, brilliant mind, Mr. Harrison, and the fact that she built it in a kitchen sink without professional equipment proves her exceptional talent, not detracts from it. She looked back at Maya, her face softening into a brilliant, proud smile. I am here to bypass this entire process. I'm here to offer you a full, paid summer internship at the Jet Propulsion Laboratory, starting immediately. A low, stunned gasp rippled through the auditorium. We are calling it the Johnson Matrix. We need you to teach us how you did it. Harrison was left stammering excuses to the other judges, suddenly abandoned by his former sycophants. The other students, who had been laughing moments before, were now staring at Maya in awe, envy, and confusion. The dramatic irony was delicious. The man who tried to disqualify her because she wasn't privileged enough to be that smart was exposed by the one organization that valued raw intellect above all else. Maya didn't gloat. She didn't even look at Harrison. She quietly closed the cardboard box, leaving the 1 score visible for everyone who walked by. She picked up the box, then paused. She placed her hand in Dr. Vance's. I accept, Doctor, Maya said, her voice now steady and powerful. And with that, the girl who was told to focus on culinary arts walked out of the fair, not with a ribbon, but with a direct ticket to NASA. The moral of the story is simple, but profound. There are people in this world who mistake your struggle for your weakness. They see the limitations placed on you by circumstance, the lack of resources, the systemic hurdles, and they assume it means your potential is limited. 2. They are comfortable defining you by their prejudice. But genius doesn't need a marble countertop or a multi-million-dollar grant to bloom. It just needs a seed, time, and the refusal to quit. Never let the small-mindedness of a gatekeeper define the magnitude of your gift. The same fire that melts the gold is the one that cleanses the dross. Sometimes, the most satisfying victory isn't winning the petty local competition. It's Bypassing the competition entirely, it's about making the people who dismissed you watch as the whole entire world calls you exactly what you always were. A genius, Maya Johnson, now Dr. Johnson, went on to revolutionize water purification for remote areas across the globe, eventually founding a nonprofit dedicated to teaching inner-city students the exact science that Mr. Harrison tried to destroy. Your value is not determined by the people who fail to see it. Your validation will come from the universe itself. Like, comment, and subscribe for more stories of justice, truth, and power from behind the scene.